Am I allowed to vape in this?
Welcome to this week's episode of Never Alone Live. And I'm Johnny, and of course, joined by Krista, the Sober Barbie. And today we have a very special guest, our old friend, Justyn from the Healing Project. Justyn, how you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm blessed by the Most High, and I've got no complaints on my end.
My man, well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So as you guys all know, my name is Justyn. I am originally from the North Carolina area, moved to Ohio, and then I moved to Tennessee in 2020. I am 38 years old, and I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. And most importantly, I am in recovery and have been in it for a long time, about 8 years now.
Yes.
But I will also say that for me, I have been working at this for quite some time now. It's been a big inspiration for me to be able to come into this space and work alongside people in the recovery field, and that's kind of what has drawn me into do what I do today, is to be able just to help the next person that comes along.
So today we are really looking forward today, and so we met Justyn on the Tiki Taki, and so now we've got a bunch of people in the comments right now. I'm just going to rattle off some names of people that are here. Jody, our friend Jody's here. Hi, Jody. Amber is here. Carly is here. Delora is here, all the way from California. And is that Chandra? Chandra's here. And our friend Cindy Hamilton, and of course Brandy Brandy, who we all love so much. And there's did I say Carly? Because she got sucked. Look at the way she did. She heard me reading names, so she put a comment right then, so I'd read her name twice. And Shelby is here. Even Shelby likes Justyn. I didn't know you had so many friends. So today is going to be so fun. We're going to learn a lot about Justyn today. But I challenged this crew this morning, if they have any questions for Justyn, that they can ask them today, and he is forced to answer them. And this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Krista, you got a question for Justyn?
I do. So we met a year ago on TikTok, which we just had our friend anniversary. And you go by the Healing Project, and I'm sure a lot of us and the people watching want to know, what is the Healing Project, Justyn?
So the Healing Project actually started out as Addicts to Recovering Addicts Project. It was something that I formed, I'd say roughly 9 years ago. I was actually still in active addiction whenever I made this, but I think God had a bigger plan for me. So obviously I faded out of it for a period of time, and I came back into it shortly after finding sobriety. And my mission when I first started was to just kind of reach the people out there that were still struggling with active addiction, still trying to reach people out there and let them know that there's a little bit of hope out there, by whether that's sharing my testimony or just kind of helping somebody along the way. And I didn't know that it would eventually form into something else. So as I transitioned back into my recovery page, Addicts to Recovering Addicts Project, I had started to get into a relationship with my wife. We were just talking a little bit, and my wife struggles with mental illnesses. She's never struggled with active addiction before. So for me, she really wanted to be tied to this, and we really wanted to start transforming into something bigger. So we came up with the idea of the Healing Project. And the Healing Project is more centered around meeting people right where they're at, whether it's mental health struggles, whether it's addiction struggles, whether you're just going through day-to-day life and you just need somebody kind of to be a support person, to be there in your corner. So it transformed into the Healing Project. And that's kind of where it's been at for the last about 5 years. It was about 2 years into it before I changed it. So about 5 years it's been going as that now. And it's been such a blessing to just be able to see the lives that I'm able to touch and to be able to help people out there.
Dude, that's amazing, and I think you're doing amazing, Justyn. I'm telling you, we talk about these little gifts that we've been given from this TikTok stuff from, and you're one of them, man. Getting to meet you, we've known you since like day one when we started going on the TikTok. Justyn was there, and watching some of the that you've evolved, and it's been an amazing thing to watch. Let me jump back over to the comments because Jenny Max here. And Melinda's here. Melinda's here. Melinda tells me she doesn't like you all the time, but she's here. That's great.
No, our whole crew is here. Brendan Clark and
And
Justyn introduced us to Brendan.
Brandon Clark is
Yes.
here. And Jocelyn is here. And she says, ooh, forced to answer, huh? Okay, this might get juicy. Brandy wants to know, will you buy me a present on the brown truck?
Absolutely. I always buy presents on the brown truck.
And then Brandy said, read my question, Johnny. I did, Brandy Dandy. Uh,
I like this.
Amber says, what did God reveal to you in your darkest season that you couldn't see in your best season? She comes up with a good question here and there, ain't it?
She has a lot of good questions. They're deep.
I think that if I answered that now, it would give away some of the of my story. So I mean, I can answer it now,
Oh,
but
you that's a great way to do it. We're gonna stuff that one till later. We're gonna table it. Our friend Elijah's here with you, and who else? There's so many people jumping in right now. Brian Bodine, is he here?
He's here.
And this is so awesome. I can't even see where the questions are. Maybe put an asterisk before your question if you're going to ask a question.
Or an emoji.
Or an emoji before the question.
I just want to thank you all for being here and supporting us and what we're doing here. I really appreciate you guys so much.
All right, so
we appreciate you.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the Healing Project, and we're going to talk more about it as the conversation goes. But you are also a certified peer supporter. Let's talk about that. What does that mean to you?
For me, I kind of navigated through, AA for most of my recovery or the early stages of my recovery. And I had a sponsor. And then eventually after navigating out of that sponsorship, I had a mentor, and this mentor had a peer certification, and the ability that he was able to walk along somebody with no judgment, offer a hand to them and support them in every way possible. And for me, that encouraged me to want to do the same thing. And as I started to navigate through it, I started to understand that, peer support was not about me stepping in front of that person and taking the lead for them or walking behind them and pushing them into something that they didn't want to do. But instead, it was walking alongside of them and taking the journey with them. And whether that was, equipping them with resources that they maybe need to navigate to the next stages of their recovery, or it's just simply sitting in a session with them and just kind of having a one-on-one conversation where we talk about life, talk about the things that are going on, to remind them that there's somebody there that listens, that hears them, and wants to support them and help them and I help them to the best of my ability by doing those things. And I've learned by doing that also, it has opened up many doors for me to understand different people from different types of walks, because I don't just work with people in active addiction or, navigating through recovery. I also work with people that are, maybe been in a car accident and they're starting life over and they have nobody, and maybe they've lost mobility and they just need that person to sit there and listen to them and hear their story and hear what they're going through, and to give them a little bit of inspiration and hope to get them along the way in their journey and that they're on.
So, look, I just figured out something
He's
new.
pressing buttons.
He's pressing buttons. So, Carly said, how long did it take you to realize you wanted to work in peer support? Which you just kind of answered. So, this is so awesome right now. Okay, so Jody asked the question, what if you have someone with a mental breakdown? What do you tell them?
I often tell people about, well, it depends. If I'm in a peer session, guys, It's a lot different than being, a support person in somebody's corner. I have to definitely watch what I say, because there is ethic and boundaries that I have to follow by. But if I was to do it outside of the peer certification thing and just to be a support person, because peer support goes with you everywhere you go, guys. It doesn't matter if I'm working in the field or if I'm, talking to just a friend of mine. Peer support goes everywhere with me. And if I was to meet somebody outside of a peer support session, it would definitely be telling them the idea of surrender, because surrender is what helped me. Every single day I have to get up and I have to surrender over to God, because if I don't do that, then my life becomes unmanageable.
You have been such a big part of my journey here on social media and helping others, and you're a resource for me. Like, I run to Justyn and I say, give me some places, and he's all over the country. And what's cool about peer support is, like, he's walked these roads before, so it's not like just a professional that like knows what they're talking about. You've lived it.
Yep.
You can put yourself in their shoes, and there's so much compassion and stuff that goes along with it, and it helps people trust you.
Yep.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
so now Jenny Max says, "What was your aha moment when you got clean and sober?" But don't answer that yet, because Elijah says, "What's your biggest challenge you had to overcome?" And some of these questions are kind of along the same wavelength, right? And I'm gonna ask you now to kind of, what got you here? What got you to where you're at today? That's it.
So
Tell us your story.
Okay. So for me, guys, I would like to say that, that I lived in a big, rich mansion. My family was rich, and, I went through a family that wasn't divorced. But unfortunately, guys, I lived in a divorced home. And at a very young age, I learned about manipulation. I learned about other things that a younger child should not know about. Um, and as I started to navigate through life, I was introduced to some things in my life. I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be a part of. And I remember vaguely, vividly, standing in the woods with my brother and some of his friends, and I took that first hit. And I got a feeling that I never wanted to run from. I always wanted to have that feeling. I thought I wanted to have that feeling for the rest of my life. And that's kind of what started me off on this journey of addiction. I started off something small, and eventually it led to alcohol and other hard things in my life. And I ended on, opiates was my DOC, guys. It was what got me through. It's what made me feel the best. And it was not something that it was something that eventually started to take over my life. And at the age of 18 years old, I ended up catching my first charge ever. I was at a party hanging out with some friends. And while I was there hanging out, I was doing a little bit of toki out the window. And the police officers were standing right outside the window watching me. I mean, why would the officers be there for a loud party that we were having? But they were. And they came up and knocked on the door. Well, unfortunately, people there in that house did not understand laws and rules, and they opened the door right up to them, and they came right to me. And that's where I experienced my first ever charge. I was caught with a little thing on me, and I got a paraphernalia charge. And you would think that that would have been the wake up call for me to stop living that life, but it wasn't. I kept ripping and running, and as I kept ripping and running, it progressed and got worse and worse and worse. Um, you know, as a lot of I had my first experience with pain medication at a bus stop, and then I learned that my mom was prescribed that pain medication, and I started to take her pain medication without her permission for a very long, extensive period of time. And as I drove myself deeper into that addiction, I started to find myself using other substances. And if there's something out there that you can think of, I've probably done it. And that's not me bragging about it. It's just to simply get you to understand that I was trying to numb a pain inside of me that really nothing was ever going to numb or fix besides Jesus. So as I started to navigate through, I had several children throughout all of this. And the beginning stages, the middle stages, and the end stages of my addiction, I had lost my life 3 different times. And there's no other explanation besides one time there was a person there to actually get me through that situation. Other than that, it was Jesus that was reaching down and saving me every single time, because he had a calling upon my life that I didn't know anything about yet. Because really, in all reality, guys, I had come to the realization and come to the realization that I was going to be this addict for the rest of my life. And I was okay with that. I had settled into it well. I was okay with, getting sent to jail multiple times because I couldn't pay my child support, because I couldn't hold a job, because I would hold a job long enough to make that first paycheck. And then I would be off to the races again, guys. And I would use every last dime. So it came to the point where I had, oh, I don't know, I was on my fifth child, and I have a total of 6 children with 6 different moms. Because unfortunately, back in that time, the only thing to do was party, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That was the only thing to do back then. Well, that's the only thing I knew how to do back then. I'll say it wasn't the only thing; it's the only thing I knew how to do.
Yeah.
But as I started to navigate through those things, like I said, I was in and out of jail an awful lot. But there comes a situation and time in my life where I was with somebody. I was dating them. I'd been with them for quite a period of time. And I had come home early from, working the job that you only work for a couple weeks till you make that paycheck. But I'd come home about 2 hours early, and I walked into a situation I never wanted to walk into. I found what I thought was my best friend and my ex-girlfriend at the time in bed together. And I get a little bit of worked up over this, not because I care about them, but because it was one of the most traumatic times of my life. It has caused me to be a jealous person. It's caused me to be a mean person. It's caused me to look at women in different ways that I should have never done, because this traumatic event, I thought somebody else was just going to do the same thing to me. So obviously, I had that experience happen. I lost my cool, guys. If it's one thing I've struggled with throughout my whole entire life and still struggle with today, and I have to constantly surrender, is my anger. I get angry, I get mean, I get bitter. So, as I started to navigate through that situation, it escalated, and I ended up having a warrant out for my arrest. I had, done some things in that situation that had some charges put against me of felonious assault and domestic violence. And by no means did I want to hurt anybody, guys, but I was hurting myself, and I was also still trying to navigate through addiction. Needless to say, I went on the run for 6 months, and it landed me in jail. I eventually got caught because, me, I was a very codependent person, and I just went from one person to the next. Whoever could feed my problems and feed the things that I was going through and help me, what I thought helped me get through them, I ran to. So I ran about a county away in Ohio that I was living in. And just so you guys know, I lived in Ohio most of my life. But so I ran to this girl's house, as you guys heard, and I used her to hide out there for about 6 months. And well, her baby daddy got a little bit jealous, and he ended up calling and reporting me. The cops showed up, and I was arrested. And as I started to navigate through the system and understanding that I was about to be a number, I started to become really, really depressed. They transported me over to the county jail that I was going to do most of my time in before I was shipped out to prison. And while I was in there, guys, I went through a very strong experience with Jesus. The CO had came walking into the dorm room that day, and she was calling medication call. And I came up there and I got my medication, and I had this little, thing around the top of my forehead that I was using as a blindfold. Well, that's a no-no there in the jail. So I went up and she told me to remove it. I told her to F off and a couple other not so nice things. And she said, that's okay. If you choose not to take that off, I'll make sure that I come back and take care of it. Well, she came back. Well, she didn't come back. 2 male big COs came back, and they said, give it to me. I said, no, I already got rid of it. And what I did is I went and hid it. They yanked me up off the bed and they threw me into isolation. If you guys don't know what that is, that's where you have nothing or nobody at all. And you're just left with a book and a phone and a shower, and that's about all you get. And you get an hour out of that time to be able to do those things. So they put me in the hole I'm feeling alone, guys. I had burnt every possible bridge with everybody that I knew. I had hurt everybody that I could possibly hurt, and there was nobody there to really support me or help me through these troubling times of my life. And I don't blame them, because I had done a lot of them wrong. I had stolen from them. I had been mean to them. I had done all of these things. So I wasn't mad that they weren't there for me. I was actually in that moment. I was mad, but I gotten past that part. And so I had literally looked down to my left, and there was a little desk there, because the only thing you have in a cell is a desk, a toilet, and a bed. And I looked over, and there was a little desk there, and there sat a Bible. And I picked this Bible up, and I just looked up at the ceiling, and I, let the Bible fall open. And I looked over, I looked up, and I just started praying. I said, God, if you're real, if you're here with me, I am the most loneliest I've ever been, and I need you to show me that you're real. And I just tossed this Bible down onto the bed and opened up to Psalms 118, verse 18 through 21, and talk about how the Lord had turned me over to punishment, but he had not turned me over to death. As long as I keep seeking him and trusting him, he will open up the gates of righteousness, and he will allow me to come in. At the time, guys, I really didn't understand all of that stuff. I was a baby, to all of this. I had just asked Jesus to reveal himself to me. And so I tossed that Bible down on the bed, and it opened up to that. And by the way, that verse is down the left side of my body. I had gotten it tattooed on me while I was locked up. But that was my life-changing verse. That was in that moment I realized that God was with me. So I continued to navigate through the prison system. And I continue to stay with God. I continue to trust God in everything that I was doing. I was going to recovery groups, all of these things, was trying to get my GED while I was in there, all kinds of stuff. But a lot of people know this very well, is sometimes whenever we walk out of there, we leave the Bible lay, we leave Jesus lay, and we walk back out to our demons. And that's exactly what I did. But this time when I came out, guys, it was nothing like before. It was 10 times harder, 10 times worse, and that was that was the last time that I had, my life was taken away from me for a short period of time. And in this moment,
it's okay, dude.
I seen the light, as a lot of people say, and it wasn't the type of light that you think it was. It wasn't that aha light moment. It was my grandfather standing on the other side, and he looked at me and said, "This is not your time, son. You go back." And so I came back too, guys. I came back too. And shortly after that, I had made the decision. I'm sorry, my alarm's going off to take my antibiotics right now. So I had made the decision. I had made the decision. Oh man, where was I at? I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, so my grandfather told me that. So I had ripped and ran for probably a couple more weeks. And let me tell you guys what, when you burn every bridge, you burn every bridge, and that includes the dope man too. I had broke into his house. I had robbed him blind of all of the goodies that he had. And then I went 2 doors down and I started using all of those goodies. Well, needless to say, when you do those types of things, you run out of sources to be able to get your stuff anymore. So I was left laying in bed sick. I mean, sick, guys. Like I would have rather somebody taken me out than to had to experience that. But I'm a firm believer in Jesus wanted me to feel that in that moment. So it was a reminder of something that I never wanted to go back to. I was also with my ex-wife at the time. And she had gotten up and left. I thought she was going to get stuff for us, because that's what we did sometimes. We laid in bed sick. One of us got up and finally got the courage to get out there and go find something or do what it took. And sometimes whatever it took was going and stealing from stores, stealing from friends, or even robbing the dope boy. And that's so she left. And it was probably about an hour later, I'd came back to, I'd woke back up because I'd finally fallen asleep for a little bit and noticed she wasn't there. So I started calling. I started blowing her phone up. She didn't answer my calls. So then I started calling other people, and part of her family, they weren't answering my calls. So I definitely thought something had happened. I really did. I thought something had happened. But little did I know, God was doing work for me that I couldn't do for myself. And she had made the decision, and she went to her grandma's house, where my grandmother, who is one of my dear friends, I love that woman with everything I have. She met her over there, and she came up with the decision that she was going to go get help and get treatment because she was tired of living this way. So I tried calling one last time, and my grandmother picked up her phone and she said, Justyn, I think it's best that you do the same thing she's doing, and I think you need to go get help. And I hung up. I didn't want to hear that. Like I said, guys, I had settled into this life. I was okay with it. And I didn't care who I was hurting anymore. And so I hung up on her. And about 5 minutes later, my dad called me. And he said, son, he said, you've got two choices today. And I don't care which one you pick. But if you don't want to pick one, I'm going to pick one for you. And it's probably not going to be one you're going to like. He said, you're either going to jail today, because I had warrants out for child support. You know, when you're in active addiction, you don't pay child support. I had warrants out for child support, and he said, you're either going to jail or you're going to treatment. So I made the decision that day to go to treatment. That was on June 6th of 2018. My plan was just to go there and be done with treatment, go do the detox thing, go to a little, actually it was detox. I was just going to go to detox and I was going to be done. Well, God had a different plan for me. He sat me down for almost a year and a half, closer to 2 years, in some really hardcore recovery. I went to Akron, Ohio to get recovery. And if you guys don't know, Akron, Ohio is where Dr. Bob's house is at. It's where AA all started at. There is some good, solid recovery there, guys. And these people over there know a little bit about it. But it was such an amazing experience because I got some good recovery, guys. And AA was the foundation of my recovery. It's what taught me some of the things that I know today. It allowed me to go through the 12 steps. It allowed me to have a sponsor and to work alongside a sponsor to help me through those things. So I navigated through that. And I had worked the steps. Like I said, I'd found a sponsor, and I even started sponsoring somebody myself. Was not successful on that part of things, but that was okay with me. But he sat me down for that time. I got to experience Dr. Bob's house. I got to experience Founders Day. I got to experience all kinds of things. And I feel like God put me there so that way I could get some good, solid recovery in my life and not be distracted by other things in my life. And he moved me 2 hours away from what I knew and familiar with. So I did come home, and I'd say it was probably 18, 19, 20. It was 2020, the beginning of 2020. Or no, it was the end of 2019 and into end of 2020. So I don't know where it should. Am I supposed to just keep going with my story? I'm sorry.
No, that's
okay.
No, we're gonna kind of finish where you ended. You know, where
Okay.
your using career ended, because we got questions to talk about, Justyn. We got people in the comments. Let me read some comments real quick.
I don't think our comments have ever been this wild on one of these.
You know, we got some. You got a bunch of new friends that are in here. I know Nikki is in here or was in here. Crystal Candace, hi Crystal. Glad to see you here. And there's so many people they're commenting and they love what they're hearing. They love your story.
Can I just tell them all something real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
I just want you all to know, one, that I appreciate each and every one of you being here. But most importantly, I want you to know that I love you all so much, but Jesus loves you so much more.
It's his tagline. I love it.
We're supposed to have Megan, put that in the marquee, please. If you could put that, I love you, Jesus loves you more. Okay, so pick a number, Justyn. 1 to 5.
Oh,
3.
One of these games.
Oh, Michelle's here too. Hi, Michelle. Pick a number 1 to 5.
3.
1, 2, 3. Amber says, if you could go back and talk to the man sitting in that jail cell, what would you tell him?
Oh, good question.
You would ask one that's going to make me get emotional.
Okay, we want the tears.
That was a pretty good one.
I definitely would sit down next to him and tell him that his parents' divorce wasn't his fault. I would also tell him that the things that he fell victim to at a very young age was not his fault. And then I wanted him to start seeking God now and not wait until later on in life, because if it's one thing that I was able to navigate through and change was my relationship with Jesus, and he improved everything else in my life.
That timing though, that timing, if it was sooner than later, like you were a big part of me being more vocal in my faith and the time I'm gonna cry now because like you were instrumental in my recovering out loud on social media. So that would have like thrown that all off. So the timing was correct in a
Yep.
way, but it would have been nice to have it sooner for sure.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
That was a really good
Good
question. And
question.
if anybody has any questions, throw them in the comments. Justyn's answering questions today. Jocelyn, if you've got any hysterical comments for Justyn, please throw it in
Problem.
here. We're gonna keep doing this. I want to know. I want to, so you get sober, and what's your sobriety date? 6/6/18, right?
Correct, correct.
6/18. So you've been sober for 8 years, and now you are on a platform and you're doing all sorts of stuff. The Healing Project is you're getting eyes on it. But I want to know kind of what the future holds for the Healing Project and for Justyn. Actually, kind of just tell us what you're doing now with the TikTok, with everything else.
Absolutely. So as you guys all know, I am a full-time peer support. That's what I do. I sit right here. I'm sitting in front of my whole setup right now. And kind of it's kind of what encouraged me to start doing something very similar on the TikTok platform. And as I started to navigate through that, I had a understanding that I was going to be, just recovery mental health focused. And it's nothing against anybody that does that. But I had tried that for an extensive period of time. Um,
I
I
was saying,
tried.
do it.
I
Jocelyn,
was I was
we're
I
not
was
having.
down there laughing at Jocelyn's comment. But I was, as I started to learn that role and whatnot, I learned that I wanted to help people and I wanted to meet people right where they were at. So I started doing these lives, and really and truthfully, like Barbie had said earlier, or Krista had said earlier. Um, I was encouraged by their lives and what they were doing, right? They were getting there every morning. They were having a great meeting, with everybody coming in, asking questions, doing all this great stuff. And I was encouraged by that. But there was some unfortunate events that took place in my life that kind of made me steer away from that for a period of time of my life. And so I came back, and when I came back this time around, I was on a mission, and that was to honor and glorify Jesus in everything that I do in my life. Because, guys, I had tried everything else. I had tried the mental health, tactics that I had been taught. I had been taught all these other things, and none of them was taking away some of the bitterness and anger that I had in my heart. I couldn't get rid of it. So I started to navigate doing these devotional lives in the morning time. And it basically consists of me reading from a Celebrate Recovery devotional. I share something out of there, and then I kind of go around my room and I allow everybody to touch on it. But I also have some ground rules in there. I keep it Jesus focused. I keep it Jesus centered. I don't allow certain things to happen or take place in my room because I do try to keep it as safe as you possibly can on TikTok. We all know that it's not necessarily safe, but I do my best to keep it as safe as I can there. And it's bloomed into something way bigger than I ever thought it would be. I remember getting in there and only having like one or two people in my live, or maybe a couple people stopping through, and it's grown into something way bigger than that, to where I can continuously honor and glorify God in everything that He's done in my life, and then I also get to see what He's doing in other people's lives too, and I get to see the strength that He gives them to keep pushing through and doing the next right thing, and then I get to leave them with a little bit of inspiration and hope to keep them going along throughout their day.
Okay, so we got I got a fun question.
Lots of questions.
I got a fun question. And if anybody has any questions for Krista, just because now I will throw Krista under the bus too. If you have any questions for Krista, just put Krista dash and then ask your question, and I'll ask that one too. But I like this one. Casey Rowe says, "What's your favorite food?" And it's so funny because there's something that he shouldn't have eaten.
I was gonna tell you guys my favorite food currently right now is chicken, but that's not my favorite food. I just am on a chicken, rice, banana diet right now. So I would definitely have to say steak, and I like my steak medium to medium rare. If it's not with a little bit of stuff coming out of it, guys, it's just not for me. It's just not for me.
Wait,
Okay.
Casey also said that you what I can't it's going so fast, Johnny. What else did he say? That he's been on your page for years and you helped him get sober.
Oh, that's so awesome. That is so awesome. Grateful to hear that.
Okay. Oh, here's a good
You
one.
like sugar.
Melinda says, "What did recovery give you that you never expected to get back?" And Cindy, I'm coming to your question next.
Recovery gave me the ability to be a father. Recovery gave me the ability to be a peer support. Recovery gave me the ability to be a husband. You guys, and that's my life. My children, my family, my wife. There's been many days in my life before I started getting close with Jesus that I woke up and I didn't have the strength to keep going. But I look over at my children, I look over at my wife, I look at all my beautiful things that I have around me that God has blessed me with, and I get up and I get my butt in gear. So recovery gave me all of those things back that I never once had because I wasn't a father. I didn't meet my son until he was 12 years old, guys. I didn't 12 years old. And I never knew I had that ability to do those things.
Oh.
All right. This one isn't a question, but oh, maybe it is. Ask him about
Okay.
Debbie.
Most of our guests that we've had have had a little Debbie cake obsession or addiction. We have interviewed a lot of people, and a lot of them say this in their story.
Listen, guys, if it's one thing that I inherited after I got sober was sweets. I have actually I've been on a weight loss journey here in the last couple months, and I have definitely brought myself down. But because of my little Debbie cake addiction, I was quite up there in size, guys. I got pretty big for a little while. Actually, you can see a picture of me on my page where my tummy looks like it's sitting on top of the counter because it was just so heavy and big.
But wait, what's
but
your favorite cake?
I will say that anything chocolate related, fudge rounds is probably my go to little Debbie snack that I always pick out. But I will definitely say that I don't judge little Debbie. She does a great job at making them cakes.
She does.
And here's a question. Johnny, Johnny, how old are you really? Unfortunately, that name is spelled incorrectly. I don't know who that person that she's talking about. So we're just gonna hide that. Have a good day. And it was supposed to be Krista hyphen question. But I got
Questions for Johnny in the chat, please.
I've gotta go back and find Cindy's question because this is kind of now, we've been laughing and having a good time, but this is one that is important. And how has following God changed the way you do recovery? And this was part of our conversation today. I take notes, right? And I've got notes and questions that we're going to ask. And this is one of the ones that is important because you started in one program, but now you've evolved to another one. And watching your faith journey just over this last year has just been, you're just on a rocket ship with Jesus, dude. And it's so, so, so amazing. But go ahead. I'll let you dive into that one.
How has following God changed my recovery? I will say that, like I kind of spoke on this a little bit earlier, right? So following, AA and NA, only worked for a period of time of my life. I still felt like I was missing some things in my life. And for me, as I started to navigate through understanding who Jesus was, trusting him with everything, I started to learn or see recovery through a new pair of eyes. And the way that I started to see recovery is I was able to understand and meet everybody where they were at, but most importantly, I was able to have a relationship with somebody that never left me or forsake me. Because I want to tell you guys that people go on, they pass, they move on, they leave our lives, they get mad at us, whatever it is. But for that, the relationship that I have with God, or that I have with Jesus, has allowed me to have a sense of recovery in a way that I never experienced it before. Because mental health and all those things taught me great things, but Jesus really set me free and showed me what it was like to live in recovery.
Okay. All right. There's a lot of comments about Little Debbie. We got oatmeal cream pies. We got zebra cakes. We got all the stuff being
I'm not a fan of zebra cakes. They're
The
white chocolate.
chocolate
If you can
ones are good. The
uh
chocolate
wait,
zebra cakes are good. There's chocolate
Josh,
wait,
ones.
they're chocolate
Josh
ones.
dropping dimes on you. Holiday Reese's. I'm with you on that. There's something about the ratio with the Halloween Reese's peanut
Yep.
butter, because it's
Yep.
the chocolate to peanut butter ratio. It's like there's more peanut butter and it's just extra delicious. And
Yeah.
100%. If it's not holiday edition, I don't want nothing to do with it. It can be any of the holiday editions,
Don't
because
even
he's
come
right. They
at me
put
with
that
the
perfect
thin.
amount.
and
Nope, don't.
Come at me with the
and
thin.
Nikki Hicks is answering the question of how old that Johnny person is. He is 34, and I don't know why we're laughing our ass off at
This
that.
is an honest program.
We're on the Facebook here. We're on the Facebook here, and
If he's
Sean,
34, if he's 34, then I'm definitely 25.
the Easter egg ones. Look at Jocelyn. I don't eat that crap. So this Jocelyn is Justin's wife. Okay, what other questions do you have for Justyn? Because I've got lots more. The healing project. You're a peer supporter. You work for a company, and the healing project. You've got so much going on. How do you find time to do all this stuff?
Well, I was blessed with the job at We Connect, and where I work at now, and I work from home, so I am right here in the center of my studio, guys. Like, if you could look all the way around, I got all these lights, I've got my monitors, I've got my computer right here, and I'm sorry, ask the question one more time. I got off track there for a
How
second.
do you do all this stuff? I mean, you've
Oh,
got so much
so
going on.
obviously working from home, it allows me to have that kind of space, to be able to do those types of things. But there is many days that I do get consumed with work. I have a full schedule, and I do have to, find the time for whatever that space is that I need that time for. But I will definitely say working from home has made a total difference than working in an office where I'm able to be right here in my studio.
Actually a really good question from Cindy again. What would you say to someone looking to get their peer support license?
That it is a journey that you will never ever take anything else like it, because it's opening up a space for you to, get a little bit vulnerable with some people, talk about some things, and be able to help them navigate through that. And I will also say that if you ever want to become certified, please reach out to me, because I have all of the resources and all of the things that I need to be able to get you connected with whatever state you're in. Because like Krista said earlier, I'm not just a peer support in the state of Tennessee. I'm nationally certified throughout the whole entire US.
Johnny and I just had this conversation last night, and I said I'm going to reach out to Justyn because I want to get mine. You've inspired me.
I am recently peer support certified in the state of Indiana, and I love it so much. I loved it because not only does it teach you to meet people where they're at, it teaches you about harm reduction. Harm reduction is so big, and we've had big conversations about harm reduction lately, and people think of harm reduction and it has a very negative connotation because they're like, Oh, well, you're just allowing people to keep doing their DOC. And harm reduction, I thought the greatest analogy is you put your seatbelt on, right? Put your seatbelt on. That's harm reduction. You've got a fire extinguisher at your house. Is there a fire every day? Is it are you saying that we should have fires in our house? No. You keep it there just in case. Narcan is a fire extinguisher. You don't know when it's going to be needed, but if it's needed, pretty good to have it. And so harm reduction is something that should not have any negative connotation. It should be put out into the universe all the time. So thank you for the
I've
peer
wa-
question.
I've watched harm reduction save people's lives, guys. People that once maybe didn't understand about harm reduction and they found it, and they're today now many years sober, because that's how they started out their beginning stages of their recovery. And I am all for harm reduction. I support all forms of recovery, because one, in the peer support role, we have to, but two, because I want to, because I understand that it takes each each person's journey is their own unique journey. And that's the great part about peer support, and what it's taught me is not everybody's story is the same, not everybody's journey is the same.
Yeah, I have a 4-year-old, beautiful, smart little girl because of harm reduction. If that wasn't a thing, she wouldn't exist today. And I just posted a post about Narcan because it's next month's recovery month. So it's a lot of people are out there advocating, and people are coming at me. And all I can say is educate yourself. Please educate yourself. And all I can do is share my family's testimony on it, and it's proof. It's
Yeah.
living proof.
Okay, I should never have learned how to pull these comments into the because Crystal Candace, I didn't know you lived in Indiana. I live in Indiana too. And okay, that was enough of that. Then
Can we disable the buttons, Megan? Just
no,
kidding.
because we're
I'm
having
just
so
kidding.
much fun. But and then Amber's dropping from this morning, get out of the burning house. That was my grandmother's favorite line. She said it to so many people. And here it is being put in the comments here today. Okay, so do 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 do. Carly asks, do you need to have an addiction past to be a peer support?
So, not necessarily for some states. I know I can say this for Tennessee myself. You can have a background in mental health. You can have a background with, let's say, you worked with children, had some children that have struggled with addiction. You can also get it from, having family members that struggled with addiction. I've met many peer supports that have never experienced addiction before, but they experienced a parent that was in active addiction, maybe that they lost. So, really and truthfully, each state kind of does vary. But I will definitely say that, for me, that's how I got my peer certification, was because I had the background in addiction, but I also had the background in recovery. And that's how I share my experience, strength, and hope with somebody.
We did an interview with Cassie Rebecca the other day, which drops in a couple of weeks, and she is a peer support specific for maternity. And man, what a mind blower! It's so awesome. The amount of women that are in addiction, that get pregnant, that don't know what the hell to do, that are getting answers from the wrong people, and don't know the resources, don't
Or the
know
stigma.
they don't know. So a peer support, a maternal peer support, dude, how profound is that, bro?
That is very profound.
It's
I'm
just
honestly, it's the first time I've ever heard that. It's the
it
first time I've
just
ever heard that
started
one.
the beginning of the year, and it's in the state of Georgia. She works with the state of Georgia, but I was blown away too, because I was in rehab with pregnant moms, and then
Yep.
like I became a mom after I got sober, and I mean you're very serious in taking care of your baby and all that, and I'd be scared I drank too much caffeine or whatever, and I'm like, well, I watched these girls get sober while pregnant. I think we're gonna be okay. But it's so powerful because even the postpartum part, that's a whole another.
That's
Yeah,
all.
But
I had a child that was born addicted, and one thing I learned and navigated through that was there wasn't much support out there at the time whenever this happened. This was back in 2000 and 17, 16, 17. There wasn't a lot of help out there. I don't even know if the peer support role was even a thing back then because I never seen or heard of one at that time. But it was definitely something that if there would have been more resources, I think she could have navigated through it a little bit differently.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and these resources are out now. So, Carly, dude, look into it. I mean, I know in Indiana they asked specific if they wanted you to have a year sober. So, and it's all about being able to relate and use your own experience, strength, and hope with Sharon. But by all means, look into it. All right, here's a good question from Melinda. What keeps you going on days when recovery seems so hard? And I think Kristen needs to answer that one. Look at JC. I got your back, bro.
What keeps me going when recovery seems hard? You guys, my network is a huge, huge role in it. I tell people all the time, kind of in the middle of my recovery, I white knuckled it for a minute because, I don't recommend that for anyone. It was miserable, but I pushed through. God's my number one, but like to tangible, touchable is my network and my people because you guys love me for hearing about the worst thing I ever did in my life. There's some unconditional love there and compassion, and it's a network, and I love that we are allowed on social media and we have a group and like a family and a community that's built. And yeah.
Okay, Brandy Joe joined us, and let's see some more questions. I'm telling you, we got lots of questions today. This is awesome. Um, okay. How do you use your past without allowing your past to define you?
I use my past as my testimony to share about the way that I have been able to navigate through all of those hard times and still came out on the other side with Jesus at the forefront of all of it.
Good answer.
Ooh, all right. This one might be a little risque, Carly. Uh, how do you handle being under a microscope? The three of you all hold lives and people pick at your lives. How do you handle it so beautifully? Your beautiful mod. Carly, thank you. Carly's a mod for all of us, right? And she is spectacular, and we couldn't do what we do without her. So first off, thank you, Carly. But let's get into this one. Let's answer this one. How do you handle being under a microscope?
Before I found Jesus, I didn't handle it so well, guys. I mean, I could come into people's lives and I could, share and stuff like that. But when it comes to me and my space, I have definitely learned that I got to put Jesus at the front of all of it, because I am put underneath a microscope. There is attacks and other things that come from all different kinds of directions. And we have to learn how to navigate through those and answer still with kindness sometimes, or don't answer at all, because sometimes no answer is a good enough answer for me, because that means I'm avoiding the confrontation or the problems that may be taking place.
Krista, what do you think of this?
Johnny likes to remind us we cease all fighting, which is said in one of our recovery literature. But for me, it's I want to be more Christ-like. I want to lead with love. But a big thing is I'm gonna be authentic. I'm gonna be who I am. You like it or you don't. Some people don't. And they can unfollow me, or if they want to attack me, I'm just gonna block you. Um, but what other people think of me is none of my business. So I just take that into that. And um, everything on my social media is growing so that people are responding and they like what they see. So I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing and being me. And just lead with kindness and love.
All right, so we kind of talked about this in our live on Tuesday, right? And distractions, right? Consistency. I will be consistent where I have been sporadic. Neither distraction nor discouragement will interrupt the change I seek. And other people's opinions are none of my business. It's I don't care. I don't care. Go out and spread whatever you want. And I don't care. I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep trying to help people. That's all I want to do in this world is help people. Am I human? Yeah. Do I make mistakes? So many. So many. You know, Chris, so you did not have to agree like that. I make a lot of mistakes, but I am still gonna go out and do my best to try to help people. That's it, and helping people is the best way to you know make right with God. I do dumb stuff. I make bad decisions. I made way worse decisions before. I make bad decisions today, but not going to get distracted or deterred from the course of action, which is ultimately helping people. So that was a question there, Carly. Thank you for it. And I was told to read Shelby's question, but or not. Yeah, I can't. I don't see where it is. There's a lot of comments. Where is it?
We did have record breaking comments on this live. In the
Uh,
year and a half we've been doing this, Justyn.
all right. Here's Delora asked the question: what do you have power to control? Ooh.
I don't have control over nothing, but Jesus does.
Your faith.
I mean, yeah, my faith. I will say that I have control over that, but really and truthfully, if it wasn't for me seeking and honoring God in everything that I do, I probably wouldn't have the power of control. But honestly, that word control is a scary thing for me, guys, because I don't like to be in control. Because when Justyn gets in control and I start to take the wheel, I crash into every ditch, every sign, every possible thing that you can crash into. So I step out of that seat and I allow Jesus to take the wheel.
Yeah,
This question.
control's an illusion.
This question correlates completely with the last question. I can't control anything. I don't control over nothing. The only control that I have is my reactions to other people's actions. You did something. Does that mean I have to go crazy about it? Nope. Today we get to be the example and not go crazy. God help me to not react like a nut. That's pretty simple prayer. But here is Shelby's question. What would you tell someone who's having a hard time forgiving themselves?
That the things that you've been through in your life does not define the person that you are. The only person that defines those situations is Jesus. And I will say that also, for me, and to be able to seek that forgiveness, I had to start seeking Jesus in everything that I did. And it allowed me to be able to start understanding some of the things that I had been through and understood that Jesus pulled me through and that I could forgive myself and I could forgive other people for that too.
Forgiveness. Krista, what do you tell people who have a hard time forgiving themselves?
God forgives you. And if you can't forgive yourself, you're kind of telling God not to forgive. You're blocking God's forgiveness. So, I mean, He forgave us before we were even born. He factored in our stupidity and what we were going to do. And His forgiveness is all that matters. Forgiveness takes one person. It's you and God. Well, that's two, but you're one with God. So one.
And this is so forgiveness, forgiving yourself, right? We come into the program, come into recovery with extreme low self-esteem, hate who I look at, hate my past, hate the things that I've done, do all this and all that. The steps, whichever program you're working, are generally designed to do a self assessment so we can take a look at our past and start to forgive the things that we did. We go out, we ask for amends, we ask God to help us with our character defects and shortcomings. All of these things are about forgiveness, but it comes down to the self esteem. And self esteem is only helped by doing esteemable acts. I have to go out and try to do some new things. I have to try to do something more. When I first got sober, you know what I did? I do oil, or not oil changes, brake jobs. Brake jobs. I did brake job. My uncle sold my entire family a bunch of Pontiacs, and so I did brake jobs for my entire family, and probably 40 different brake jobs over the course of like 3 or 4 years.
I
And
didn't know that story.
and that was all just something I could do. And brake job at the is like $700, and if I can do it for $80 and save the family over and over again, you know. And no, in the comments, I'm not changing anybody's brakes anymore. That was then. And it was but it was great because I actually got to feel good about myself and do something. First few years I didn't feel like I had much to offer for as far as program goes, but I could do that. And now, I talk about my morning routine a lot. I make my bed every day. I wake up as soon as my feet hit the floor. I am making my bed because it's an esteemable act. And I think, in my perception, man's supposed to make his bed. So I make my bed because it starts my day off with self-esteem, and I pray and I do all the things that make me feel good about me. And when I look in the mirror today, it's not the way it was back then.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We got time for one last question. Look at Brandy Joe. Oh,
Are they
uh,
really $900 to get your brakes fixed?
Brandy Joe says. Brandy Joe says brake jobs are now $900. So, uh, Candace, this is a long one. Should I just go with it? I haven't read this yet. I don't know what it's gonna say. Others' opinions do not define you. As long as you know who you are, stand true to yourself. Authentic people have no need to try to prove themselves someone's views. Why wrong? Stand tall. Everyone here has value. We all fall short. We are all human. Mistakes don't define you. Let them. Don't let haters run me off or get me out of my body. Can't, Crystal,
Yes.
that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that.
I've got let them tattooed on me. Let them.
Yeah, let them.
This has been phenomenal, guys. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and this was really fun. Justyn, thank you so much for coming and sharing. Thank you for doing all that you do on TikTok. It's anybody who's just joining and doesn't know what we're talking about. Brandy goes live first in the morning and does daily devotion, and then Krista and I go live and we talk recovery, and then Justyn goes live right after. This is every day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 a.m. Eastern until like 12:30, and that's 4 hours of just you know good information, positive vibes,
Community.
safety is key, and where you can come and actually be vulnerable. And Justyn, I think very fortunate that our paths crossed a little over a year ago, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for all of this. Every day something new's happening, every day something fun's happening, and we're just on the ride together, and we keep smiling, and God loves you, so do I, and this is what
I
See
we
you,
just want you
Justin.
all. I just want you all to know that I appreciate you guys and everyone in the comments and everybody that is watching. But I love you all so much and I appreciate you all so much. But Jesus loves and appreciates you all even more.
Have a
Everybody.
great day, guys.